Her maiden presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I embark on my maiden speech, I wish to extend congratulations to you and to the honorable members who have been chosen to sit in this noble house. Yes, inclusive of everyone here. Permit me to also commend the expediency and dedication with which my honorable colleague, Mr. Juan Edgehill, and team compiled and presented Budget 2020, taking into account a global pandemic. This, sir, demonstrates true leadership by the PPPC, and of which the opposition should take note. Mr. Speaker, in the last 2 days, I have disappointingly acknowledged the abrasiveness of the honorable members of the opposition with respect to this emergency budget, simply because they feel the need to oppose irrespective of the fact that their presentations were reckless and replete with inaccuracies. This has left no doubt in my mind, Mr. Speaker, that their minds are far removed from the realities Guyanese face and are therefore unable to appreciate the relief measures contained therein, simply, sir, because they ran a government like a banana republic. Mr. Speaker, anyone with half a brain would recognize, without delving into the deeper budget, that the reversal of draconian tax measures unreasonably and cruelly placed on the citizens of Guyana by the APNU-AFC reaffirms this government's unwavering commitment to the prosperity of all Guyanese. Mr. Speaker, it has been just short of 2 months since the PPPC entered into office as the legitimate and democratically, I repeat, as the legitimate and democratically elected government of Guyana. And it is astounding to find that the APNU-AFC actually expended great efforts in exercising incompetency over the last 5 years. Mr. Speaker, I was going to jump straight into my ministry, but let me rebut what has been put forward by the honorable member, Mistress Halley. Mistress Halley has spoken as to the accomplishments of the Granger-led administration of granting or increasing minimum wage. It is a fact, Mr. Speaker, that that is so. But it is also a fact which has escaped her mind that it is an obligation of any government to take care of their public servants. And that is by increasing. It was done by the PPPC, it will be done again by the PPPC.
That's right.
And also, the honorable member said that this member, the Minister of Public Service, ought to familiarize herself with the ministry. But I will tell her that clearly she never presented a budget. However, she didn't take the 1 year to familiarize herself with the fact that an increase in salary for public servants is not inclusive in a budget. There is something called collective bargaining, and that is what you do, and then it is put in there. So while we are standing here, let us get our facts straight before we come and criticize something that the majority of the Guyanese see as beneficial to them for the next 5 years and more.
That's right. No, it's not the process. Yeah, it's not the process.
Mr. Speaker, the PPPC administration, myself, and all of my colleagues are not responsible for the misunderstanding of any terms of the English language by the opposition. It is clear that democracy means something different to this administration than it does to the opposition, because it was undemocratic. They collapsed the democracy in this country for 5 months and suffocated the citizens until they had to get a pull-up from the outside. So, Mr. Speaker, we speak of democracy. Democracy is reflective in the will of the people, and the will of the people spoke on the 2nd of March 2020, which has led us to today's date in which we are presenting our 2020 budget to help those citizens, the will of the people, and not only the will of the people, the supporters for the APNU AFC, along with the members of the APNU AFC. Mr. Speaker, I turn my attention to the Ministry of Public Service, and I have quite a bit of heckling to pick up my speech. I wonder when we will pick up the unethical, we will take away the unethical behavior of being in the public service while we sit in Parliament. I turn my attention to the Ministry of Public Service, which falls under my portfolio. As this government has said, and I have expressed on a number of occasions, we are committed to reforming and modernizing the public service in a holistic manner. So when my friend over there said that she thought I would take suit, I am way ahead of her. Way ahead of her. Modernization does not only speak to software advancement, it speaks to a change in mentality to conform with the rest of the region and the rest of the world. Mr. As far as I'm aware, her is still within the English language, even if I also interchange it with honorable member. The chief whip of the office. I also took note of the fact that the honorable member shamelessly stood up there and spoke on employment, when after days of entering into the Ministry of Public Service, she fired 3 persons, and she was ordered, it was ordered by the president that the letters were unlawful, that she is to reinstate them and give them their allowance in order to apologize to them for humiliating them.
For humiliating them. Who did that? For humiliating them. That's what the letter said.
I also heard the honorable member, Mistress Desires, stood up about 2 days ago and said that she is alarmed that the courts are being weaponized. Well, as a practicing attorney, and I repeat that word, practicing attorney, before I got in here, every day, we saw the courts used as a weapon. And you know what? The court will be used as a weapon against sanctimonious gangsters and riggers.
All day and night. And the institutions. 33 is that.
The Ministry of Public Service. Before I go on to that, sir, training is an essential part of the public service. Not something the honorable member does not know. I'm sure she knows that. She made reference to the Bertram Collins Staff College. Now we have employment there, but I will ask the honorable member in the last year that she was there, what was the progress report on the Bertram Collins Staff College? Because as far as I'm aware, all 4 years is a clerk 3 position, and those persons who would have been trained and entered into the public service has not moved from that post as of today's date. The honorable minister, also the honorable member, former minister, also stated the honorable member also made mention of scholarship policies. Well, I'll say she repeated correctly. She paid lip service, but there was no action to that because I will ask her, I'll place the burden on her to tell this honorable house how she got a scholarship, by what process.
How about Nicholas? What Annette Ferguson? How about Annette Ferguson? How Annette Ferguson get a scholarship? How Annette Ferguson get one? How Nicholas get a scholarship? While they were ministers. While they were ministers.
Honorable Speaker.
I'm hearing quite a lot of noise in the dome. This is ministers, the honorable member's maiden speech. Please, let's give her the silence that she deserves.
Honorable Speaker, I would have also heard about my statement some time ago in the media as to scholarships being skewed to one demographic and geographic. The statistics are here, Mr. Speaker, and I will state them. In 2009, and this has been the pattern for the last 5 years, we have had 1 from Region 1. Region 5 to Region 2. 5 to Region 3. 36 to Region 4. These are overseas scholarships. I will get to the local ones. A mere 2 to Region 5. 12 to Region 6. 0 to Region 7. 8 and 9. 5 to Region 10. 36 to Region 4. Local scholarships for 2019. 3 to Region 1. 8 to Region 2. 25 to Region 3. 122 to Region 4. 11 to Region 5. 23 to Region 6. 4 to Region 7. 0 to Region 8. 4 to Region 9. And 28 to Region 10. The hinterland and the indigenous people that they are fighting so much for over there has been left behind. They have been left behind for the last 5 years. Prior to 2015, there was a policy where persons from the hinterland were called. Yes, sir.
Please allow me just to make an appeal once again for some amount of quiet in the National Assembly. This is your maiden speech, honorable member, and we ought to give you that respect. Outside of that, it's difficult for me to follow using the earphone.
May I proceed?
Thank you very much, honorable member. You can continue.
Thank you. Those were the statistics from 2009 for the year 2009. That has been the pattern for the last 5 years as regards scholarship. No, that was the statistic 2019. Mr. Speaker, turning to the budget. The ministry's budget is estimated at $1,081,951, with $1,013,484 being estimated for allocation to training and scholarships. Now, if I am to compare 2019 where 500, just over 500 scholarship applications were brought into the Ministry of Public Service. In just 3 weeks, we have been able to achieve over 700 applications from across the country. From Region 8, from the hinterland alone, we have 68 applications. And that is how, Mr. Speaker, we are able to give an equal opportunity to reflect the diversity of Guyana in our public service. I believe some days ago, the Honorable Member, Mistress Philadelphia, labored on training in oil and gas sector, and I've heard it again this morning. Honorable Member, I wish to inform you that the PPPC has advocated for training, to factor in training and scholarship grants in all productive sectors, inclusive of oil and gas, as it is in keeping with the impact of Program 142, Human Resource Development. No area that is a developing area in the sectors across the country will be left behind in training and scholarships. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member also made mention of modernization. That is a common trend in all modern public services across the world. It is not something that will be left behind. We had a website that was created some time ago under the guise of modernization. I have been apprised by the IT specialists in the Ministry of Public Service that that website is inadequate and that they are creating a website that is more user-friendly and that is geared towards, that will allow for better application analysis, reporting, and management of scholarships, what we have not seen in the last 5 years. The Honorable Member also sought to attack my colleague, the Honorable Minister of Housing and Water, within the Ministry of Housing and Water. But what the Honorable Member did not say is that she jumped the line by applying in May of 2020 for a house lot and was granted one in June of 2020.
What?
I, Mr. Speaker, have had an application in there for 7 years.
What? Wow. We know what we did.
So when you throw stones at glass houses, you ensure that your house is made of concrete.
We know what we did.
Honorable Member, please, I'm appealing to you, Honorable Members, once again. It's the Minister's maiden presentation.
Mr. Speaker, the budget that is estimated for the Ministry of Public Service will serve well in terms of granting scholarships equally, fairly, and across the board. And that is the aim. Mr. Speaker, the budget will also cater for the modernization and professionalism of the public service. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, discussions are already on the way with consultations with the relevant stakeholders in an effort to modernize the public service rules, which have not been looked at all in the last 5 years. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member made mention of the Commission of Inquiries into the public service, but I dare say that she did not take any of their recommendations and advice. She stated that they sought to regularize the public service by putting 5,000 persons on the pensionable establishment. However, to date we have 111 staff in the Ministry of Public Service. As a matter of fact, when I got into office on the 6th of August, that was the figure, still is the figure. So we will see that nobody has been unemployed. That aside, Mr. Speaker, 43 out of the 111 are contracted employees, in which salaries from January to July of 2020 was a whopping $179 million. So clearly the recommendations of the COI to regularize were only looked at with a cataract-laden eyes. As have been all the visions from the APNU, AFC from 2015. Mr. Speaker, I believe I have sufficiently stated why the budget of 2020 will not only serve the people of Guyana, but more particularly the public service and the public servants of Guyana. It is there to also ensure that public servants are safe and secure in their jobs, and that their welfare will always be taken care of as well. Amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, the budget also caters for aid to those who are on scholarship outside of Guyana. And the government of Guyana, in just about 3 weeks, will be sending aid to those students. I've heard heckling from the other side as to copycats. But the honorable member, Mr. Holder, when he spoke, said everything that they do is copycatting. The first thing he said was that this budget was discriminatory and oppressive, followed by the statement that we copycat. So therefore, they were discriminatory and oppressive. Mr. Speaker, this brings me to the end of my presentation.